Hi everybody, my name is Robin and welcome to my channel Bird's Eye Stitches. This is a channel about cross stitch. So if you are new here, then welcome. Hopefully you are here because you have a love of cross stitch like I do. And if you are returning, then still welcome. Clearly you are here because you have a love of cross stitch just like I do. Today is Sunday. We are into February. It's officially February 8th. So if you are in the US, then February 8th is Super Bowl Sunday. I am not really a football fan, so I will not be Super Bowling. I will hopefully be stitching, maybe watching the halftime show, maybe watching some commercials, definitely eating food. That's about it for me. But if you are a football fan, then hopefully you enjoy your day and hopefully you have a great day with friends and family on the Super Bowl Sunday. I will be taking advantage of Super Bowl time and hitting Costco because I have to do my shopping, and I know that during the Super Bowl, Costco is a complete and total dead zone, so that is the time I like to shop. So anyway, besides Super Bowl, it's Sunday. It was a busy week for me over this last week. So my work week was extremely busy, as usual, but a little bit extra busy. I had on Friday, and typically I'm off on Fridays, but this Friday I had an event where I was a speaker at a conference. And so that took up the morning part of my day. And then I had a friend get married in the evening. So that was fun. And then my husband and I celebrated our 2-year wedding anniversary over this past weekend. So lots of stitching. Well, some stitching did happen, but lots of life happened. And that is fantastic. But with that said, I've got lots of stuff to show you guys. So I have my stitching over this last week. We have the official notes and plans book here. So I want to start out by highlighting a couple of comments from my previous videos. So Jandy Sews, hopefully I'm pronouncing the first part of your name correctly, or the first part of your YouTube name correctly. Jandy Sews says that she loved my prim pick, which was a Quaker piece from Just Cross Stitch magazine. I showed that on my last video. It was the piece that I would sew if Phil, I forget how to say his name, but if the groundhog saw his shadow, I was going to stitch on this Quaker piece. It turns out he did see his shadow, so you will see that piece in this video. But Jandy Sews wanted to know what magazine that piece was from. So if I did not show it last time, I apologize. I do have it here. The piece that I was stitching, I'll show it to you, even though you're gonna see it again. But Quaker Posies. I was going to stitch on this, except mine looks nothing like this. And that was from Just Cross Stitch magazine, spring 2025 issue. So Jandy, it looks like this. It's a great issue. Squatch says hello. She got a haircut. I still need a haircut, but at least one of us got taken care of here. All right, next comment was from the Pajama Stitcher. So the Pajama Stitcher says that she needs a Hawk Run Hollow buddy. I assume she, it may be a he. If I got that wrong, let me know. But the Pajama Stitcher needs a Hawk Run Hollow buddy. They started theirs back in July of 2024, which is way sooner than I started mine, because I started mine many moons ago and got nowhere on it. But it will come out this month, so that's good. But the Pajama Stitcher, when she said that she needed a buddy for Hawk Run Hollow, that started off a whole bunch of comments based on there's a Facebook group that Carolyn Zook from Zook Stitch, she has a Facebook group called Let's All Move to Hawk Run Hollow. So on the comments, no one could remember what that Facebook group was called, and to be honest, I had to dig through my groups to find it. This was a Facebook group that Carolyn started whenever she started stitching all of her Hawk Run Hollows, and I think it used to get a lot of traction, and I don't know that it gets all that many comments currently, but I think we need to boot that back up because I will be stitching on mine over this month for WIPGO, and so I plan to take some photos and post them in the Let's All Move to Hawk Run Hollow Facebook group. The Pajama Stitcher, you can join us there, or just, of course, keep in touch on the videos, and I will happily be a Hawk Run Hollow buddy, because I obviously need some motivation, because mine has sat in my closet for years and years and years and years and years. But it's coming out this month. Next up was Sugar Plum Stitcher. The Sugar Plum Stitcher loved the frame on the FFO that I did on this last video. So I found a frame on clearance that was a circular size frame that fit really well on a old Lindy Stitches piece. So I got that framed and put together. That piece is currently at my work. I did not put it on the bird wall, which is back here, only because it was so small that it wouldn't quite fit amongst the rest of those frames. But it fits really nicely on my desk at work. So that is where that one currently resides. The Sugar Plum Stitcher says that they struggle to choose the right frame, which I completely resonated with, because that is one of the reasons that I didn't frame all that often, because it was hard to commit the frame to the piece. Now I have a box of frames, which you'll see one here later in the video, but I have a box of frames that I was just nervous to put the frame with the piece because I wasn't sure if it would really go well. Now I'm just putting the piece in the frame. You know, I kind of hold the frame around the piece to, like, oh, we can make a frame here, strike a pose frame. Anyway, I put the frame around the piece just to see if the colors go well together, and if they go good enough, then I just frame it. Now, I don't know if that's really good advice, because my last house was much larger, so I could get away with all the different frames being kind of different, right? Different frames in different rooms. This place is a little bit smaller, and I am noticing that I'll say they're a cattywampus array of frames and frame colors. And when you put them all over the walls, it doesn't really bring a lot of cohesiveness. So I don't know if they're gonna stay in the frames that they're in, or if I will swap them. But for now, I'm still on the path of, does the frame look good with the piece? And if it does, I'm just doing it, because it's not really all that permanent. Unless you take it to a framer and they put a backing on it and it costs a lot of money, then whatever I did, that's staying. So the ones I do myself, though, no big deal. But for the Sugar Plum Stitcher, I hope that you find some good frames that go with the piece and just try it out. She also commented that I have a cute pup, so that means that Squatch here got a shout out, so I had to choose that comment. And that was it for comments. As far as Flosstubers I've been watching over this last week, so the two that I wrote down, the first one was Lindy Stitches. So Lindy Stitches is doing videos to show all of the patterns that she has available for the Nashville Needlework Market. So far I've chosen a few different patterns that I like. It's kind of like hit and miss. I like maybe half the patterns or so, but I've picked up a couple that I really, really love. I'm gonna be semi-picky and only really purchasing it if it's like, you know, a special floss pack, or maybe something that I don't think I can get later on, then I might pick that up. Yes, hello. But beyond that, you all know I have way more charts than any one person needs right now. And my dog is trying to tell me she wants to go for a you-know-what, but she has to wait. Anyway, Lindy Stitches, she's doing the Nashville Needlework Market. I usually only buy, I try to buy from my LNS, which is the attic. If I can't get in there, then I will look for pieces either at Garand Stitchery or at Lindy Stitches. That's pretty much it for me. On occasion, maybe 1, 2, 3 Stitch if it's something super basic, but mainly those are the places that I go to shop. So I really liked Lindy Stitches, plural. I like her format for how she's showing the pieces for the Nashville Needlework Market, just because, as usual, she makes it very entertaining to watch. So if you want to see what is for sale and want to take a look at her videos, everybody knows who Lindy Stitches is, but I'm enjoying all of those updates. Next one is Carolyn Zook, Zook Stitch. Hi Carolyn. You all know I talk about her on every single video because, well, we do a lot of stitching together. But I loved her last video where she showed elegant pumpkins. I don't even like pumpkins, but I like those elegant pumpkins. And she is making major progress. Every time she holds that thing up, I think I want to stitch it. I don't want to stitch it, but every time she shows it, I just love that piece. So go and watch that last video, see her progress. I know she also just put up the flip through for Just Cross Stitch Spring 2026, which I will be talking about one thing in this video. I'm excited to watch the flip through. I haven't done it yet, but I have flipped through it myself. There are many things that I want to stitch. It is an amazing issue, even better than the 2025 issue. I will say, since Just Cross Stitch started doing their quarterly instead of bi-monthly or monthly, so much better. I just love it. But go watch her flip through if you have not yet, because there's fun stuff. Not in this magazine, but in the current one. All right, that is it for shout outs and for comments. However, I had a giveaway on the last video. The giveaway just happens to be the next thing on this pile. So giveaway was this beautiful piece here. I own 2 copies of this. So this is by the Proper Stitcher, Bird of Bordeaux, something French bird. The word was prim. I used a random comment picker on Facebook, and the winning comment was Lisa, who goes by Stitchin' with Lou, and this brought me great joy. In fact, I had to screenshot it just to prove that I actually used a random comment generator or picker to get this, because I just love when the people who win are people that comment regularly on the videos. So Stitchin' with Lou, I will reach out to you to get your address, and we will get that headed your way over this next week. I will have one more chart to give away whenever it shows up in this pile, because I'm going through my old charts and getting rid of the stuff that I have duplicates of or that I know I won't stitch. And I talked about this before, but February I am working on connections, so making connections with stitchers, and what more fun way to do that than to send people stuff. I love that. All right, we are 12 minutes, almost 13 minutes in. Let's get to some actual stitching. So what did I work on over this last week? I worked on my travel piece just a little bit. So I have a couple of travel pieces. When I'm on a plane, I usually work on Mill Hill kits. If I'm in the car, I like to work on this one. So this is Silver Creek Samplers on the Naughty List. Looks like this. And as I mentioned, my husband and I had our 2-year wedding anniversary, and to celebrate, we did just a little one-night staycation nearby, but it's like a 30-minute drive there and back. So for the drive, I grabbed my cross-stitch piece and made a little bit of progress. So this is being stitched on a piece of 18-count cornflower Aida from Fiber on a Whim, using all DMC. I got it as a kit, so mine looks very close to the picture. We are here. I am making progress, slow and steady. So all I stitched on was red. The last time you guys saw this, these boots were done, this was done, I had this much of the words, but I just had a little corner of this red, so I put in a couple hundred stitches of red, and you can even kind of see it on the video. If you see right in here. So I discovered, I usually stitch from, unless it's a specialty fiber or hand dyed or something like that, if it's just plain old DMC, I usually like to stitch, you know, full rows all the way across. And I usually go from left to right and then from right back to left. Pretty standard. This one, for whatever reason, I had just done like chunks, so I didn't have to go all the way across I don't know why, but that's just what I did. So when I was coming back through, I did some of the legs, all of the top legs were going the correct direction, but instead of going from right to left, I went from left to right, but still doing my X's the correct way. I don't know if that makes sense, but I hope it does. I noticed that when I did that, see this little chunk right here, it actually looks different, and I don't know why maybe it changes the angle that you're stitching. I really don't know, but I can tell. I think when I get the rest of the stitching done, and it, you know how as you work on it, it kind of gets fluffier and whatnot, you probably won't be able to tell at all. I just found that super odd. And now that I know that, I definitely won't change my stitching ways. We'll stick to the plan, stick to the normal way to do it. But that is where we're at on my travel piece. I usually just leave this one in the car, and if we are driving on a road where I wouldn't get car sick, or for more than like half an hour and I won't get car sick, then this guy comes out. Next up is the 25/7 piece. So 25/7 is a Facebook group that is run by Melanie Watkins, the Soulful Stitcher. Hi, Melanie. I like to choose a piece that is close to a finish or a piece I just started, for me personally. The goal is to stitch on it every night for 25 minutes. I have met that goal all but one night so far this week. I might even try to make those stitches up just to see time-wise how close I can get to doing 25 minutes a day. But there were many days over this past week where this was the only thing I got to stitch on, and that's okay. For my 25/7 piece this month, I am doing the Primitive Hares Woodland Stitchy Friends, the Hedgehog. Now somebody put in my comments, I should have written it down, but someone said that for the Nashville Needlework Market, that the Primitive Hare was going to be putting out another Stitchy Friend. So I will be watching for that for sure, because I love any animal that is stitching. Stinking adorable. The card that tells me what type of Aida I am using ended up in another bag because it wasn't on this one. So my Aida is green. I forget what it's called, but this is how far we've gotten. Ta-da! Look at the little tiny face. I've got a little nose, a little eye. He's smiling. Adorable. Obviously I've got some fill in here, and then all of his little spines are going on here, but this is coming right along. I love that we have actual life taking place. Now that this porcupine has a face, I'm sorry, the hedgehog, now that the hedgehog has a face, it makes it even more fun to stitch on him. So super, super cute. And from afar, this looks even more like a needle. Yeah. I mean, it's a ginormous needle, right? Look, if you actually look at this, I assume this is supposed to be a needle in his hand, right there. But that needle is huge in comparison to his hand and its tiny little hoop. Either way, when I was stitching it up close, I was like, what is this black thing supposed to be? From far away, okay, I can kind of see it. All right. But we're making steady progress on this one, so that one's looking good. All right, next up, I worked on Quaker Posies. So I already talked about it a little bit, but in the magazine monthly cross stitch challenge Facebook group that I run with my friend Carolyn Cesic Stitch, we have a pop-up challenge happening right now that started on Groundhog Day. And the idea was, if the groundhog saw its shadow, you had one piece that you stitched on. If it did not see its shadow, then you stitched on a different piece. So the groundhog saw its shadow. And since the groundhog saw its shadow, I had some sirens in the background. That meant I was going to be stitching on Quaker Posies. So this is Quaker Posies. again from Just Cross Stitch Magazine, Spring 2025. I am stitching mine on a piece of coconut macaroon legacy linen, 34 count, and I'm stitching mine in DMC 347. So mine looks way different from what it showed. The goal is to stitch 5 hours or 500 stitches. I am halfway there, so this will come out again today, but I got half of those done. So last time you saw this, I had most of this, all of this part here done, most of this motif completed. I finished up this bottom corner here, whatever that little doodad is, and then this box. In the bottom, I don't know if this is supposed to be like a tombstone. It reminded me of a spaceship. It is probably not supposed to be a spaceship, but it's odd looking. But I swear that's what the pattern looks like. So, got that little guy done. I have the rest of this motif, which I will be finishing up probably today, and then to finish the rest of my stitches, I might break into, there's a big circle here. This piece is nearing a finish. I know I say that all the time and I'm usually nowhere close, but this one really is. You can see here in the original. So I have all of this part done. This was a beast, but it is completed. This does not look like a spaceship or a tombstone when you do it in the called for variegated floss. Mine does. This reminded me of an octopus or something, not sure, but that's gonna come out next. And then I've got this little, looks like the edge of this right here repeating itself. And then there's this large circular motif in a teeny tiny flower. We'll have to see how my stitching goes for this month, but if I complete the rest of my goals, which we'll see, but if I do, I'm gonna bring this one back out after, just to see if I can get it finished. If not, this one will very likely be the 25/7 piece for the month of March, even though I don't think it would take the whole month to finish. Okay, that was just about it. I only got, as far as stitching goes, stitching done for the large February fill-in challenge, and then my 25/7, which you all know sometimes if a week is busy, that is just all you can get to, and that's okay. So I still have, I have a couple other things to show you guys, but before I get to that, I wanted to talk about another giveaway. So I have been going through my charts, and anything that I have a duplicate in, I didn't used to use the Google Keep for my cross stitch patterns. I do that now. Thank you, Carolyn. So now that I do that, I can very easily check to see what I already have on hand before purchasing anything else. Back in the day I didn't, so I have a handful of things that I have duplicates of. So this, you can understand why I have multiple copies of this. I think I have like 3 copies of this. I've given this away before. Not on my channel, just in general. I have one of my own that I will be stitching one day. And then I had this one. So Signs of Spring, it's a cottage garden sampling. This one is, cottage garden samplings. It's just called First Signs of Spring. I figured spring is coming, slowly, but we're getting there. Everybody wants to see some signs of spring. If you live where I do, it's straight up hot. You can't tell by my sweatshirt, but it is, it's warm. But others are waiting for spring. So if this is something that you would stitch or would like to have in your collection, let's go with the keyword of spring, S-P-R-I-N-G. Make sure you're 18 so I can get your address. Don't say giveaway, all the things. You can live anywhere. It will be shipped out. So if you would like to stitch this beautiful bird, I just love that robin, so pretty. Really, I love the background a lot too. But if you would like this, use the keyword of spring, and I will choose that winner on my next week's video. All right, what else do we have to talk about? Let me break out my little planner here and take a quick peek. So plans over this next week. I need to finish my February fill-in posies piece. So about 200 or so stitches left to go on that. So I'm going to have that one out on the Q-snap for the rest of today. Then of course we have the 25/7 piece with the porcupine. The magazine monthly challenge, our acrostic is a short one, Kazky, Kazky. So my goal for that just over this week is I'm gonna break out autumn flowers. Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm gonna break out From Velvet to Linen, which is the letter K. It's on there twice. From Velvet to Linen is a piece that I am stitching for one of my stepdaughters, so I would like to get 4 hours worth of progress on that, which is quite a bit. And then in WIP Warriors, they have a challenge coming up for Valentine's Day that I'm going to start in on. So for Valentine's Day, they have a challenge called Lonely Hearts, where you stitch on a piece that has been neglected. You all know that my neglected piece is the Majestic Unicorn, which is also my theme for the Magazine Monthly Challenge. So I will be starting that on Valentine's Day, which is Saturday. I won't have it completely finished for my goal by the time I film, but you'll still see some progress on that over the next week. But that is about it for plans. So Majestic Unicorn at the end of the week, porcupine, the posies, and then the piece for my stepdaughter. So lofty goals for 1 week's time, at least for me. 2 last things I wanted to show you guys that I need some feedback on. So if you are still with me, then hopefully you are prepared to give some feedback. Number 1, I found my old box, and it's actually a box. I have a big box of frames. So old frames that I pick up either from Goodwill or from clearance if they look like an interesting frame or something I would use in the future, you know, a particular shape or color. I like to pick them up while I can when they're on sale, yada yada. So I found my old box of frames, and I've been trying to marry up the frames with my finished pieces that currently reside under the bed. I was looking for a frame for this one. This is Comfort and Joy that I got out of I think it was one of those punch needle and thread magazines. I don't know. When I finished my pieces, I just put them in a box under my bed with no description. I won't do that now, but that's what I was doing. So here we go, Comfort and Joy. The frame that I found that I think will go good is this one. Merry Christmas. Sorry, you get lots of glare because it still has the glass on it. A question I have, my hope is that the Merry Christmas part the red will bring out the red in the flower, but it's not quite the same, the right red. If I just kind of fold it and tuck it in there, what do you think? Is this too pink to match this red plaid, and is it the right vibe? I think in my mind I had something different. I don't know what, but something else in my mind for what would go in this red plaid frame. But I do kind of like it. I like the background. I like the color of the natural Ada. I like the red on the flower. The blue and the gold are very nice. So I don't know. I might just frame it and see how it looks. I maybe just frame it and not do the lacing on the back, so it's very simple to take out if needed. And then the big one that I need opinions, questions. I have questions. As I said, watch Carolyn's flip through of this magazine. Because if you do, you will see that they have the year-long Sal in this magazine is Tapestry of 12, which theirs looks like this. So when I first saw this, I was not exactly sure. I was like, it's different. But then the more I looked at it, the more I liked it. And then when I realized that every single one of these is a teeny tiny little guy, that just uses one color floss. And when I realized there was 12 of them per issue, right? So essentially you could do one tiny block per week. Then I got excited because I was thinking, it reminded me of a temperature tree or a temperature piece, right? And I always like the idea of those. But if you know me, you know that I am terrible at sticking with them. Terrible. But this is exciting. So here is what I was thinking about doing. And what I want to hear from you guys is, are you stitching this piece? Anybody else want to attempt to continue stitching this for an entire year? My plan with this is to do one block a week, but instead of using the color that it tells you to use, I just want to choose my favorite floss from whatever piece I was working on during that week. So, you know, whether it's maybe a new start or a finish or just whatever piece I put the most time into, I'm gonna choose a piece of floss from that, and then in one of my notebooks or on some type of nice paper, not sure what, but I want to keep a running list of what each of these blocks are, right? So this is the block, the week, with here's the floss name, and then here's a piece that floss came from. So that in the end, I will not only have a really pretty piece, the colors may or may not go together. Like these colors, they have a nice variegation, nice rainbow. Mine probably won't, but I would have a fun piece that tells a story of what I was stitching on from the whole year. Now it sounds amazing, but I need to know if anybody else is going to stitch this. If you are you going to do all the colors that are called for, or what fun plans do you have for this? And if there is another Flosstuber out there that you have seen talking about this, let me know in the comments so I can go watch, because I'm not 100% sold on my plan. Okay, I'm 95% sold on my plan, but it's always fun to hear what other people are doing for these types of things. And I will need continued motivation. But 2026 is the year of consistency. And what better way to be consistent than to have to stitch something every single week? I think I can do it. I think I can. So my plan is to start this in March. The first week of March, you will see this come out. I will start with this one right here in the corner. I believe that I will be stitching it in a favorite color from whatever piece that I'm working on that week. If you would like to join me, let me know. All right, that is the bottom of my pile. Somehow I made 3 WIPs last 33 minutes. I don't even know how that's possible, but I did. Stay tuned next week for more stitching. Congratulations, Stitchin' with Lou, for winning the giveaway. I will be in touch with you for your address on that. If you would like to enter the giveaway this next week, use the word spring. And I think that's all I have. Happy stitching, everybody.